You noted he is a successful businessman. Do you know if the president has any plans to meet with any of the folks involved with any of the family businesses over there, or see any of the sites that are going to be
Not to my knowledge, and let me just get to the premise of your question that both of you have raised. I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service, not just once, but twice. And again, the American public re-elected him back to this White House because they trust he acts in the best interests of our country and putting the American public first. This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States. I don't remember these same type of questions being asked of my predecessor about a career politician who was clearly profiting off of this office. That is not what President Trump does, and this White House holds ourselves to the highest of ethical standards.
Carolyn Levitt is not very good at her job, and she's not very happy when that's pointed out. And that's exactly what happened in her press briefing today when one of the worst and somehow least talked about scandals of the Trump administration was called out. Carolyn Levitt was so angry she started attacking every reporter in the briefing. We're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into Carolyn melting down and just attacking everybody, we gotta see the question that got her so upset to start. And it came right here from our friends at the Bulwark.
Thanks for having me, Caroline. The president posted another ad this week for his Trump meme coin. The group that's running that coin is encouraging people to buy in order to win a dinner this month with the president. Why is the president planning to attend a dinner for the top investors in his coin?
Look, the president is abiding by all conflict of interest laws. The president has been incredibly transparent with his own personal financial obligations throughout the years. The president is a successful businessman, and I think, frankly, it's one of the many reasons that people re-elected him back to this office.
There are at least some people who are buying this coin who seem to view it as an opportunity to influence the president's views. There was a logistics company this week that said they would buy $20 million in the coin in order to advocate for free trade between the U.S. and Mexico. If buyers are buying for that reason, are they wasting their money?
Look, I can assure you the president acts with only the interests of the American public in mind, putting our country first and doing what's best for our country, full stop. That's his intention, and that's what he's focused on.
Senator Chris Murphy has dubbed Donald Trump's crypto scam the worst scandal in presidential history. And I agree. This man is publicly allowing foreign governments, big corporations, CEOs to pay him to the tune of millions, if not encroaching upon billions of dollars right now, buying influence in the federal government that Donald Trump is happy to give away. And what have we heard from Republicans? Nothing. This is a huge scandal. And if it wasn't for all the other scandals, this would be the only thing anyone would want to talk about. And what does Carolyn Levitt say about it? That he's a good businessman. A good businessman. He's bankrupted casinos. He's gone bankrupt himself 9 times. He's not a good businessman. He's leveraging the powers of the presidency to enrich himself. Everyone can see what is happening here. Speaking of people can see the problems with Donald Trump and pointing them out. Carolyn Levitt was asked about how Pope Leo thinks about the president.
One other question. Yesterday, we saw the news of the new Pope. Before Pope Leo became Pope Leo, there were some critical comments that he made about President Trump and about Vice President Vance on his then X account. Does the White House have any reaction to those comments?
The president made his reaction to Pope Leo's announcement yesterday very clear. He is very proud to have an American Pope. I think it was a surprise to everyone. I saw the news media was surprised to report on that yesterday, but it's a great thing for the United States of America and for the world, and we are praying for him.
Not surprised that Carolyn Levitt just wanted to kind of brush past that question there. That was probably one of my favorite Twitter days of all time. The uncovering, as we went over, and I'm sure you saw covered in other places, of Pope Leo, then Cardinal Provost tweets calling out Trump, calling out J.D. Vance, even back in 2016, 2017, calling out Donald Trump's disgusting and immoral and now illegal immigration policies. And so, not a surprise that Carolyn Levitt just kind of wanted to rush past those. And I hope to see the Pope continue to call those out and continue to speak on behalf of those fleeing persecution and oppression. And that's what this Trump administration is trying to do right now. Trying to persecute, trying to oppress. And it doesn't matter who you are. Take a look at who Donald Trump just fired that Carolyn Levitt was asked about right here.
The president.
Question, the president fired the Librarian of Congress. Why did he choose to do that?
We felt she did not fit the needs of the American people. There were quite concerning things that she had done at the Library of Congress in the pursuit of DEI and putting inappropriate books in the library for children, and we don't believe that she was serving the interests of the American taxpayer well, so she has been removed from her position, and the president is well within his rights to do that.
A DEI librarian? Real? Is that what we're doing at this point? DEI libraries. What does that even mean? I need a definition of what that actually means. She was putting out books that you don't like. Free speech. Are we not doing that? These bag of people cannot compartmentalize what anything means to them. They talk about free speech in the context of, I don't know if you saw this story, but an adult woman who called a 6-year-old boy the N-word. That's free speech. But when a librarian wants to select some books, that's not she gotta get canned for that. It's just absolute nonsense. It's crazy. And the questions kept coming again on the crypto scam, and it's when Carolyn Levitt melted down.
Natalie.
Thanks, Caroline. Sure. I have a question about the Middle East trip. Will any of the president's family members, like including Don Jr., Eric, or Jared Kushner, be joining him on the trip?
I am not tracking any of the president's family members joining us at this time, but of course the first family is welcome to come. I hope they would. They're great people, great to be around, but I'm not tracking them on the manifesto.
And given that you noted he is a successful businessman, do you know if the president has any plans to meet with any of the folks involved with any of the family businesses over there, or see any of the sites that are going to be
Not to my knowledge, and let me just get to the premise of your question that both of you have raised. I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service, not just once, but twice. And again, the American public re-elected him back to this White House because they trust he acts in the best interest of our country and putting the American public first. This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States. I don't remember these same type of questions being asked of my predecessor about a career politician who was clearly profiting off of this office. That is not what President Trump does, and this White House holds ourselves to the highest of ethical standards. Phil.
Donald Trump left a life of success the second time he ran for office. If he hadn't become president, he was going to jail. He only ran for the presidency so he didn't have to go to jail. And the first time, he was going broke. He wasn't a billionaire. That's why he went bankrupt so many times. What are you talking about? The presidency has existed as a project to serve Donald Trump's narcissism and to enrich him, his family, and the other wealthiest people in the world. That's it. He's not some genius businessman. If I wanted to be a corrupt president, I bet I could make some money off of it too. I bet you could as well. If you became president and just said, hey, you can buy favors from me, I'm sure you would also be raking in the cash. That's not a successful business model. That's a crime. What are we talking about? This is just absolute insanity for an administration that is constantly putting as much spin on the ball as they possibly can. And we saw it again yesterday with Donald Trump's big announcement of a deal with the UK, but he forgot to mention this little part.
That the 10% baseline is going to still be there at the end when all of the other details are ironed out?
The president is committed to the 10% baseline tariff, not just for the United Kingdom, but for his trade negotiations with all other countries as well.
Permanently, even after the deals are done, like that is going to remain.
The president is determined to continue with that 10% baseline tariff. I just spoke to him about it earlier. Stephen.
So the 10% tariffs are staying no matter what. Is the purpose of making a deal then? I don't think they understand what a deal means. Oh my God, this is the stupidest administration in history. And to pretend like this is some big win that Donald Trump did a deal that's not done yet, by the way. The deal is still, as you guessed, 2 weeks away. But they're like warning people. Well, you know, you don't actually want to do a deal with us because we're still going to tear a few. I can't even put it into words, but Stephanie Ruhle did last night, calling out the sham that is this deal. And I want to take a look right here.
It is day 109 of the second Trump administration, and earlier today, UK officials joined President Trump and his team to announce that some kind of trade deal between our two countries is close. And there is one phrase that President Trump used over and over and over again. Watch this.
I think you'll get a pretty good understanding of how big it is. It's a very large deal, very big deal. It's a very big deal right now. This is a bigger deal. This is a much bigger, better, stronger deal for both of us than we ever even contemplated before. It's a big deal. It's very conclusive, and it's a great deal, and it's a very big deal, actually.
Big deal. Did you catch that? He said it's a big deal. So why don't we take a look at actually how big a deal it actually is? JP Morgan said it would likely have a limited impact, especially since Trump's 10% baseline tariff on the UK is still in place. And the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, talked about that too. Watch this.
We still have our 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States. So we feel really good about the deal. You've heard the Prime Minister. He feels really good about the deal, right? And we started at 10% and we ended at 10%. And the market for America is better. And this is a perfect example of why Donald Trump produced Liberation Day.
There's a lot to unpack here. First, if you are wondering why Fed Chair Jerome Powell did not cut rates yesterday, I want you to look at that 10% tariff that remains on the UK. That is triple what it used to be. And this is the UK, our closest ally, where we do not have a trade deficit. Think about all those other countries where we actually do have them. They're going to likely be stuck with higher tariffs. And what does that mean? Inflation ahead. And Jay Powell and pretty much all of Wall Street and the business community, they know this. So let's get to the actual deal part of the big deal. There was no final deal announced today, and President Trump eventually admitted that.
The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one.
We'll see. As I told you before, deals on average take 18 months. So to summarize, here's the president's agriculture secretary on Fox Business just before that Oval Office showcase.
Again, more details coming. It is an agreement in concept. There's a lot of details to be worked out.
It is a concept of a deal. Does that sound familiar? Well, according to my sources, this thing is pure theater. And the sources I am talking about are Wall Street investors, many of whom voted for Trump, many of whom are willing to stand up and give him a standing ovation and pat him on the back if it means we can get out of this trade war and get back to the tax cuts and deregulation they want. But even those guys looked at today and said it was just a show. A country we did not have a deficit with, a prime minister who has gone out of his way to charm Donald Trump, and a dressed up framework to distract us from real challenges ahead, like fewer cargo ships in our biggest ports. So this big deal announcement was carefully choreographed to give markets hope. And guess what? For the day, it worked. Markets shot up. But the real reason they went up may have more to do with the president changing his tune on China in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, the president said no reducing tariffs on China, no matter what. Well, today, he said we know the tariff is coming down. This is a clear shift and a softening. Add to that his other remarks today, telling folks to buy stocks and the market is cheap. Well, the last time he said that, it was just before he paused tariffs on all other countries back on April 9th. And what did markets do? They soared then and they soared today. But remember, markets search for any reason to get optimistic, but that does not change the facts on the real street. Ford is raising prices, industries are begging for exemptions, and stores are preparing for supply chain paralysis, meaning we, the United States consumer, and our businesses we pay the tariffs. That is the reality. And if you want to put lipstick on that pig, you better hope.
I don't even know what to say anymore. These people, they're bad at their jobs. They're bad at lying and they're stupid. I just think these are the words that we have to use at this point. Let's make it pretty clear. Pretty simple. That's the state of things, and we're going to keep calling it out on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. We're getting pretty close to 1 million, aren't we? You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.